one of my favorites to cover, and I think we'll end on Melbourne today because I think Sydney, from an investment point of view, we're not going to focus on anyway. Just it's only for select clients. So let's finish on Melbourne. Melbourne is at
Yes.
1.4%. Keep in mind, this is an aggregate
One
median price
or
growth. It's 1.4%. Thoughts in Melbourne?
1.1. I think 1.4 is crazy because I literally have clients that have made 10% in Melbourne this year, right?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
so that's the really hard thing to answer to a lot of people because Melbourne has been the talk of the town. The numbers aren't showing it, but if you take a little deeper look behind the curtain, there's a lot of really good opportunities that people are missing out on, I think, because as you said, there's certain the rent isn't there. I understand, I've seen my clients have some more higher council rates for certain areas. I understand these other little costs that are involved. However, for a client, one of our clients, for an example, making 50K on a 400K purchase within
Mhm.
6 to 8 months, not including these first homeowner grants, right?
Mhm.
I mean, how do you not say no to something like that? Even if the people around you aren't making as much. But
Correct.
then again, if you go to a certain areas and certain suburbs, they've actually gone down. They've actually gotten
Yep.
worse. People are
Yep.
leaving there. They don't want to be there. So
Correct. Yep.
so it's very unique and weird because as a kid growing up, everyone wanted to go to Melbourne. When turned 18, that was the first place I went to. It was such a nice, fun city, but it's become very hot and cold. There's certain spots that still have that energy. There's other spots that have just run down and never really recovered. You can blame COVID, you can blame all these other different factors,
Yes.
but really with Melbourne, I think it's definitely something, probably the top of my list if I'm being honest, but the one that you probably have to be the most careful in
100%.
exactly where you choose.
100%. And I echo everything you just said. So Melbourne is like our equal number one spot right now with the economy. Yes, they're going through a bit of changes here and there, and they're in a bit of debt, sorry. But at the same time, it's such a massive economy. So many jobs are available, very comparable to Sydney. So we're benchmarking a lot of Sydney locations versus Melbourne, and we're finding areas of 50% upside. Melbourne
There
has
you
a
go.
very large market cycle like Sydney as well, and they're going to have the highest population increase over the next 10 years. So you won't go wrong if you invest in the right locations. There is a lot of land supply coming in, especially out west. So if you
Yeah.
make a smart decision in Melbourne, if you invest right today, you will have the most long-term growth. But from a yield perspective, you will have high holding costs, likely more than
Yes.
20 grand a year holding that property. So it just depends on your strategy, the way you're kind of building a portfolio, and obviously your lifestyle and cash flow opinions. But Melbourne is great buy today. It's probably the most undervalued market, the most relatively affordable market. And that's how I'm going to end it. You should definitely focus on Melbourne and look at everything in the scope of what suits your requirements. Ultimately, that's what's going to help you grow.